I'm here to tell you about the new Varicam 35, which is the first time we've shown this camera in public. We've been talking about it for a long time, and now we've got a working model. For the most part, it's not completely working, but for a prototype, it's looking very good, and it's certainly representative of what the product is going to be when it's available come the fall, which is probably going to be in October, December timeframe. So let's talk about the camera. What we've done is we've done a lot of research. We spent a lot of time. We talked to hundreds of DPs and operators and technologists and critics around the world and said, what do you want? And we did a giant matrix and we figured out what we could do to make most of the people happy, and we think we came out with about a 90% success rate on what this camera should be in order to compete in the marketplace with a number of pretty serious competitors who are already well entrenched. How are we going to do this better? So let me give you a little definition, a little start, a little understanding of what this camera is. It's a PL mount camera. It's a Super 35 size chip. It's one that we designed ourselves. We didn't go out and find another company to buy it from. We made this chip from scratch. So it's slightly oversized, so we got a little bit of breathing room on the exterior of the image. It's a single CMOS chip, so it's standard Bayer pattern chip. I can tell you that it's an ISO today of 400. By the time we deliver, it'll be an ISO of 800. And it's going to have 14 stops. Those 14 stops, those plus and minus 7, as I change the gain, the ISO setting, those are going to float with that. So I'm not going to be doing a non-linear, but I'm going to be doing a direct relationship linear track with my dynamic range. This portion of the camera is the imaging, the taking section. Up here we have a PL mount. That PL mount is secured to a hunk of steel that will allow this camera to take a 25-pound lens and not warp. Nothing's going to change on that weight problem. So this portion's imager. This portion of the modular camera is the processing, the recording, and the I/O. So I can separate this from this by about 30 meters. And we're talking about under discussion, should we have that fiber? Maybe we'll be able to do fiber. But when I can take a camera this size, I can put it in small places. I can put it inside a vehicle, I can put it inside an airplane, I can put it on an end of a jib arm, or put it on some difficult place to get to where I don't have a lot of room, and then attach this to it via some cabling, copper for the moment. So what I have here in this portion is I have the ability to record 4 different ways. Primarily, I'm going to record on a 256 gig Express P2 card. That's about that thick, but the length and width are about the same size. So that Express P2 card at 256 gigs is going to plug into the camera. It's going to allow me to record in AVC Ultra for about 30 minutes at around 200, 400 megabits. A lot of that depends on whether I'm recording 24 frame or whether I'm going to record from 1 frame to 125 frames. So I can record 125 frames a second at full 4K. No decimation there. And that's varies on the record time on card depending on the frame rate that we've asked the camera to do. It's either going to be selectable frame rate, or we think it's going to be able to do variable frame rate. So you could do a ramp up or down at some select point to another select point. In addition to recording on Express P2 card, I can also record on micro P2 card, okay, at the same time. So what I'm going to record on micro P2 card is an HD signal or a 2K signal. And I can record on either AVC Ultra or Intra or ProRes. So for the first time, Panasonic has allowed another manufacturer's codec to be used in our camera. This is a big door opener for us, but we're happy to do it, and we think it's the right thing to do. While I'm recording that HD or 2K signal on this little micro P2 card, I can also record proxy signal in 4 different bit rates, depending on what kind of quality I want. In addition to all of the above, I can add a device to the back made by Codex that's dedicated for this camera and record my raw signal. So now I'm recording 4 signals at the same time. If I want to expand upon that, I have output ports here. So we have full 4K coming out on 4 ports. Okay? And that allows me to go to some other type of recorder, or at very least, go to a monitor and monitor live on set. I've also got coming out of here a color corrected, because this is always going to be in a raw mode, but I've also got a color corrected signal in the camera that can come out and feed an HD monitor, and I can get an idea whether it's Rec 709 or whether it's a LUT that I put into the camera, and look at it with that color tonality to it. So lots of good options going on here that are going to be useful in the studio, in the field, and stream remote applications and the like. Let's talk about a few other things. Oh, user interface. So I've got this user interface sitting up here on this side of the camera for my AC. Normally, or in a fixed configuration, it sits right here. But I've got this extension piece that's going to allow me to go about 18 inches away and allow my AC to run it while I'm over here as camera guy on this side of the camera with, by the way, OLED viewfinder that's got focus in red, it's got expansion mode. It's also got proximity sensor, so when I walk away from it, it turns off to prevent any sun damage. So these three pieces equate out to about 14 pounds. Not a bad weight, and as far as power goes, I'm looking at about 60 watts to run everything, full mode. I've got user buttons that I can preset. I've got record buttons on both sides. I've got just essential switchers. These are little vents that happen here. More vents over here just to keep the hot air out. And another user button on this side. Viewfinder feed, separate viewfinder eyepiece monitor type. I've got some LAN ports over here so I can plug into other things like internet or other devices so I can control the camera. I've also got Wi-Fi. I'm over there on that little tough pad so that I can set color correction external to the camera. I can also look at clips that I've already recorded, and so on and so on and so on. So you can see this is a pretty powerful camera. It's going to do a lot, and it's going to do a lot more than what I just described by the time it's ready to come to market. And where do you guys see your spot in the marketplace? What's going to be the primary? Is it going to be episodic? Is it going to be motion picture cinema? Is it going to be industrial? What's it going to be? I think it's going to be a little of everything, and I think the camera will find its place where it serves the industry best in what particular area. So I'm not going to pigeonhole it and define it, but I'm going to let it be an open platform, and we'll see where it goes.